question we now have is, what was luxury like, specifically mansion? So, Miss Lois, would you like to talk about the fabulous mansions of yore?
Yes, okay. So in colonial America, in order to have a big fancy house, first of all, you had to have a lot of big fancy money. And probably you have some old world money and a little bit of money that you're making off of your plantation. So if you're living in a plantation house, it's a big house. They don't like to build little houses, they like to build big, ornate houses. Now, the materials that are available in America, or in the colonies rather, are going to be very different than the materials that folks are used to in England, okay? So in England, if you were wealthy, you probably had a stone house. And there are stone quarries, okay, that you are able to access. You have stonemasons, you've got folks who are experts at building houses. If you come to the colonies, there's nobody over here, right? It's just wilderness and fields, and you got to figure out how to build your own luxurious house. So colonists are sort of like developing their own standards of luxury. So it's usually going to be a timber frame house. It's going to have a couple of stories, and if you had a lot of money, you could stucco your house. You put this sort of sticky stuff all over it, and then you drew lines in it to make it look like stone, because colonials love to fake it till they made it, and that was their thing. But also, if you had in your house fine materials that were either European or came from South America or the Caribbean, it was going to be things like mahogany, lots of banisters and things like that, were mahogany shiny tables. They really like shiny things. Because think about it, if you're living in colonial America, you don't have electric light bulbs, right? So whatever you have in your house, you want it to reflect as much light as possible. You want it to be shiny. So if you are living in a nice house, you've got shiny tables, there might be little mirrors embedded in your tables. That was pretty common. You would have had fine china, porcelain china. Probably also if you were wealthy, you could import silver. And remember too that if you're wealthy, you probably have some business sense, and you've probably been reading a lot of books, right? But there aren't many printing presses in America when we first started out, right? So you're importing those books from England. Same thing, you're importing your clothes, you're importing a lot of your dishware, things like that. Yeah, so luxury in the colonies had a lot to do with importing. What else, Miss Jen?
Well, I know y'all have been reading The Keeping Room, and that talks about specifically one of my favorite places on the planet, what we now know as the Kershaw Cornwallis House in Camden. And I know Mr. Slaughter has been showing y'all some pictures, and I'm also sending some more to him. So what we have to think about is Camden is the oldest inland city in South Carolina. So you've got really, really fancy Charleston. It's been doing pretty well for a while. I mean, a good long while, and it's got a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, like, we need to start kind of pushing back into the interior of the colony. So, hence Camden. If you're coming from Charleston, or you're coming from somewhere else, as a matter of fact, you have been going through woods and swamps and riverbeds for a really, really long time. And all of a sudden, you come out to this opening and, this beautiful Georgian mansion. Now, everything else that's in Camden at that point in time are going to be little log cabins. Again, making this gigantic, white, beautiful, perfect, elegant square look that much more magical. And we do know that usually men were the ones who did the decorating on the inside of the house, because they were the ones with the money. The darker the paint, the more it cost. So if you had a public floor, there are several things in the Keeping Room that aren't right. There was no ballroom. The second floor was where you would have had your sleeping quarters. And that's really where you didn't necessarily spend a lot of money. I'd like to think that Joseph would have given bedrooms to all of his kids, but we know some really fancy houses that if you'd gone upstairs, be nothing but sheets hanging between beds, kind of dormitory style. You wanted to show off how wealthy you were on the public floor. So you wanted dark paint, if you could afford a clock. Like Miss Lois was talking about, anything with mirrors. These were all very, very important. And of course, when you would entertain, you wanted to make sure that you had sugar, big status symbol there, and spices. Exotic fruit, if you could have had a pineapple, oh my goodness, people would absolutely gone nuts. So it's not in the same way that we think about it, but there were definitely things that people believed really, really counted.